Welcome to the Courage to Lead Unlocked. My name is Kaisa Siipilehto, Life Mastery Coach and founder of Livia Joy. The purpose of this show is to share the best proven strategies so that you can create genuine love and monumental fortune in your life. Now I'm honored to introduce you to Kerry Tepedino. Kerry has made her mark in the personal development industry as one of the leading women coaches that gets real results. Through her dynamic coaching programs and transformational life events, she has influenced over 250,000 people worldwide in mindset mastery, emotional intelligence, loving themselves, and believing that with the proper mentorship, community, and strategies, anything is possible. I wanted to interview Kerry as she's an inspiring example of what it means to choose yourself and do what it takes to go from rock bottom to rock solid, to enjoy a life she never thought was possible. So please join me in welcoming the founder of the Perfect Health Mastery Program, Kerry Tepedino.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and have a really powerful, fun, lasered conversation and help our friends who are joining us.
Yes, thank you so much for coming and sharing. Our team is really courage. So I would like to hear from you, like, what does courage mean for you and how does it show up in your everyday life?
Oh my goodness. It's so interesting because I was just talking to some of my clients around boosting your bravery, and bravery and courage can kind of sometimes be intermingled, right? They're slightly different. But we were even just talking a couple of days ago that it often doesn't have to be this huge firework event where you get to show up and be brave or courageous, where we think of like the Knights of Camelot, where they were riding horses with shields and lances. And sometimes like being courageous is like having a hard conversation. Sometimes being courageous is being a mindful parent, and maybe it's being a leader in your business or launching a new business or going for that dream life. Like sometimes these acts of courage aren't these big firework moments, and but they're the little daily moments that add up and then create really incredible results, and you don't even really realize that it's happening because maybe they're just 1% baby steps. Then all of a sudden you get this big new courageous results because of it.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I think it's so easy to think about courage and like that those are those grand big gestures and not notice, like you said, like the small courageous moments that you have, just to have those like vulnerable conversations, for example. Can you share us an example, like what has been like a challenge for you that you've overcome and how does that impact your life today?
Yeah. So I'm the founder and the CEO of the One Thought Away project. And so what we do is we've helped thousands of women worldwide with their own personal development, become strong leaders in their life and all of that. But I really couldn't even be speaking into that unless I was walking that talk. And so probably like some of the other guests that you have on this show, I had that dark moment, that dark chapter in my life where it felt like a rock bottom moment. And for me, so I've been in this space about 20 years. So for me, it was about a little over a couple of decades ago where I didn't have great mindset skills. I didn't have great emotional mastery skills. I didn't have a great relationship with myself. And so anytime I would get stressed or overwhelmed or anxious, or, it was before I had this business. So I was working in the corporate world, like if I had a big project at work or something, what I would do is I would check out, escape, and numb out. And for me, it was mindless eating. It was emotional eating. I was 50 pounds heavier than I am today. I had an eating addiction. I really kept people at arm's length. I didn't really want people to get close and see who I really was behind closed curtains and closed doors, and my weird eating habits and all that stuff. And so, you know, picking myself up off that bathroom floor in my rock bottom moment was a total act of courage. And it really was just staying present to the next breath and the next moment of possibility and the next moment of choosing health over fear, choosing love over fear. And once I cracked the code on my eating addiction, my self-esteem, I boosted my self-confidence. And once I cracked the code with that, then I felt a deep responsibility to stand for other women to also understand that they could also pick themselves up off their bathroom floors and have a moment of courage where they choose to lead their lives in a different way. And whether that's leading their professional life, like being the CEO of a business, or not. I mean, we're all the CEO of our own lives, right? And so it often does take a big act of courage to try something different, to do things differently than you've ever done before. And it's the only way we can get a different result.
Yes, I would be curious to hear, can you recall the moment when you just like chose differently? Like, what was the moment that you were just like seeing the possibility, like you said, because that might be challenging when you are there in your maybe lowest moment or whatever challenge you're facing, like how to then see the possibility of different life.
Yeah, I call those defining moments. And so those defining moments, we often can have a number of defining moments. And those defining moments are the moments where we choose something differently, and then it greatly impacts our lives. It can greatly shift the whole trajectory of our lives, which is what happened for me on that bathroom floor that one night where I had a big project due at work. I was really stressed about the delivery. I was afraid I was going to let my boss down. I felt like I was going to look bad in front of my peers. And so for me, I came home, I binged, I tried to purge it out. It didn't work. I ended up on my bathroom floor for the first time, really understanding I was slowly killing myself. My heart rate, when my heart was racing, I understood for the first time I was actually really challenging my cardiovascular system. A good friend of mine's mom in college had died of an eating disorder. Her organs failed. And so it was a big wake up call for me that night to either keep doing what I'm doing and get the same result, or have that moment as an act of courage and pick myself up and just figure it out. And honestly, in those moments, it really is just taking it, like, for me, it was taking it every breath at a time. Like, it was too overwhelming to think, well, okay, I'm gonna change my whole life, or I'm gonna change my whole year, I'm gonna change my whole month. Like, my mind couldn't go that big in that moment. And so it was too big for me to even think about changing who I was and setting down all the destructive behaviors for just one day. And so if one day felt too overwhelming, so then what I did is I allowed myself to say, okay, can I just think about how I'm going to show up as the best version of me possible for 1 hour? 1 hour felt like too much for my skill set at that time. And so then I said, okay, then let's just focus on the next 15 minutes. The next 15 minutes, let's just make healthy choices. And there's that, that I call it that slippery moment of hesitation, like that moment where you either choose to make a healthy choice or not. So with the One Thought Away project, the whole concept of the One Thought Away process and everything we do is you're one thought away from being successful today or not. You're one thought away from being happy today or not, healthy today or not. You're one thought away from being courageous right now or not. Right. And so that's the whole basis of the One Thought Away project. Our One Thought Away book is coming out at Mother's Day. We're very excited. And we have a whole 5-step process around it. And so that was a one thought away moment for me. And that those moments are so slippery because it's very easy to keep choosing the old thought, the old story, the old pattern, beat yourself up, body bash, whatever it is. And it is a total act of courage to choose a different thought, to choose to be in relationship to your emotions in an entirely different way. It is a total act of courage to take a different action in that moment, right? And so, you know, that one different thought, which when you're in that sticky moment, it's very hard to even see what you're in. And it's just like that one thought though, what I want our friends here to hear and just get is just choose one different positive thought so that you can create what we call a pattern interrupt. We want to interrupt the normal thoughts and feelings and ways of being that aren't serving. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes. And I want our listeners to really notice what you said. Like when something feels too big, how can you just start taking it like smaller steps at a time? Like, what's the bite that I can now chew and take and start from there? Like, and like you said, like it's one thought away, how you can just choose this or the other. So what would you say in the moment when you're like, oh, really the old habits is pulling you there, but you kind of want to choose differently? So what would help you in that moment to make that
Change your
courageous
environment.
different?
Yeah. Change your environment, you guys. Do something. We need to create a pattern interrupt in that moment. And here's the other thing that I'll say is that oftentimes the reason why people, we work with just women, but you know, applies to our gentlemen friends as well. But the reason why in that moment that often it's very hard to see the other thought, it's just because it's a pattern. There's neuroprogramming that has happened in your brain. So if you think of like a vinyl record, which probably most of us still remember vinyl records and who's on this summit. And so if you think of a vinyl record and that needle on the record goes in the same grooves to play the same old lyrics, to play the same old songs over and over and over again. So what we're doing, so if you think of it, your brain, like your brain is that vinyl record and your neural pathways or the inner conversations your brain has is the same old grooves. And so what we want to do is we want to create different grooves for your brain to follow, to have a different song to sing. And so a pattern interrupt is going to be really critical. And it just means that you do something different than you normally did. And it doesn't have to be, it could be something small. And so let's say that we catch ourselves, let's say our friends here catch themselves having a negative inner conversation about themselves. Oh, I'm always so overwhelmed. I can't deal with anything in my life. I can't get anything done. I'm just going to go rearrange my sock drawer for the 5th time today just to get something done, right? And so when you catch yourself going into this negative talk cycle or something, just even you can clap your hands. Yeah. No, okay, I'm choosing something different, right? Do something, twirl 3 times. Get a rubber band on your wrist, snap that rubber band, and instantly replace that negative thought with a positive thought. Put on your favorite music. I don't care what it is, AC/DC or whatever it is. Put on your favorite music and dance around the room. You know, it's just about doing something different than you usually do so that you can give your brain and give your mind some wiggle room, some breathing space to witness what's going on in that moment and to make a different decision, right? But when it's so really emotional or really heated or whatever it is, it's often hard to make a different decision. So just giving yourself a little bit of space, 5 minutes. I mean, 20 minutes would be awesome. But in those moments, it's hard to find 20. So maybe 5 minutes to just dance around the room or snuggle your pup or, call a girlfriend or walk around the block. Do something to just get you out of your normal pattern. And that's a great place to start.
Yes, I want our listeners to now choose what it is. Do you want to do the clap your hands, the rubber band, the music, what it is? So now you have it in your toolbox that when you, like you said, notice your talk. If you're saying like, oh, I can't, or I never, or I always, it's good to like notice your thoughts and what are you telling yourself. You've been mentioning this overwhelm a few times, and like you said, our brain is constantly working. So, and there's a lot of thoughts, a lot of decisions to make. And I mean, I can say that I feel overwhelmed a few times, a couple times. So, how would you advise the us who feel like overwhelmed, like what to do in that space? Like you said, okay, recognize and pause, like how you can change your thinking, do different decisions. Is there something else?
Yeah. Let me give a little exercise because I think it'll probably help some of our friends. So, one thing that you can do is get a blank piece of paper. This isn't blank, let's pretend it is. And anything that you're feeling you need to do or that's stressing you out, it's on your to-do list or whatever that is. My suggestion is get a blank piece of paper and a pen and just free flow without filters, free flow everything that's causing the overwhelm. Get it out on paper. What are all the things that you think you must do or people you must help or whatever? Just get it out without filters and get it out of your head, first of all, which by the way, research shows, statistics show that we have 70 to 80,000 thoughts a day is what they're saying now. It used to be 60,000. Now I'm reading 70 to 80,000.
Yeah.
And like 60,000 of those thoughts are negative thoughts. So we're really, unless we get these skills, we're very much working against ourselves, having the dreams that we want, having the leadership, having the courage, hitting the goals professionally and personally. Like this work is the most important work you could ever do. It's like this is the work that's going to fuel your dreams. You know, we are our greatest return on investment because we're the common denominator with everything in our lives. So there is no work that's more important than this work, you know, for your health, your wealth, your relationships, like all of it, like, because you're the common denominator. So, so one way to be overwhelmed is get a blank piece of paper, free flow write anything that's taking up space in your head, all the things that you feel you need to do or people you need to help or whatever that is. And then put your pen down. You can close your eyes, take a nice deep inhale, open your eyes, and then look at that list again and really present yourself to that list. And say to yourself, okay, relief being the key word. If I were to do anything on the three most important things on this list that would bring me the most relief today, relief being the key word, what would those three things be? And then you choose those three things, be a mix of professional and personal, choose those three things, take a new blank piece of paper. Again, I do not have a blank piece of paper on my desk, but take another new blank piece of paper, write those three things down on the blank piece of paper. This is going to be the part that scares people. Crumble up the whole list, throw it away, and you're going to go, no, but I worked on that, or no, I put energy in that, or no, but I need to do all those things. Don't worry about it. They're still going to be there for you. So crumble up that paper, take the paper with the three things on it, close your eyes again, take a nice deep inhale, connect to yourself. Look at your three and ask yourself again, okay, out of these three things, what is the first thing, the number one thing, if I complete it today, it's going to bring me relief? And circle that one thing and start with that. Close down anything else that's a distraction, you know, social media or email or whatever it is, close it down if it's not related to that one thing and go get that thing done so that you can start to like deflate the overwhelm, decharge the overwhelm. That is just really like, it's like an overinflated balloon, you know, it's going to pop at any moment, right? And one of the reasons also to do that is because once you get that one thing done, then you start to have a different experience of yourself. You start to have what we call completion energy with something. And when you have completion energy with something, you start to feel more successful. When you start to feel more successful, you're going to start to feel more confident about yourself again, right? Like it starts to pick you up. You start to pick yourself up. That is a pattern interrupt to, I can't do it. I never get ahead. I'm overwhelmed. It's too much. You know, so we get to chip away at what's going on here and really create a different experience of yourself with yourself so that you can start to create a different future for yourself. Is this making sense?
Yes, and thank you for sharing this exercise because I also hear from people I work with that how can they make the decisions and, for example, prioritize? So how you said, like, okay, put everything down and then choose what are the things that you want to focus on, and then like take one thing, because then you start to feel like that, like you said, more confident when you get one thing done, and then you you feel like, okay, good about yourself, you made that, and then you can take the next one. So it's really just like, putting it to smaller chunks so you can feel that it's not too big, like you shared earlier. So this is a great exercise for any of us to. I also like to share my thoughts with someone, to talk to a coach or a friend, because when we hear our thoughts, it's like, oh, making more sense and bringing clarity.
Yeah. Well, and this is something I'd like to add to that. Something that I think is really, really important when somebody wants to change their life is you've got to have the right strategies in the right order and the right people around you to help make it happen. And I think with a lot of people, what they feel is, oh, I don't want to ask for support. It's a sign of weakness, or I don't want to be a burden or a bother to somebody, or I don't have the time to invest in myself and get a coach, or I don't have the money to invest in myself and get a coach or a program or community or whatever it is. But here's honestly what I think is, and what I see, and I've worked with thousands of people at this point, and what I will say is, I see it as a sign of strength, not weakness, to raise your hand and allow yourself to get support. I mean, I have mentors, my mentors have mentors, right? And my mentors, I really, really respect. I see them as some of the most incredible people ever, and successful and powerful, and have it going on, right? And it's a sign of strength. Like, I respect that they get other people's eyes, that they respect other people's eyes on their stuff. Because when we're so in our stuff, it's hard to see what's really going on. It's hard to see the solution, right? It's hard to crack the code on misery when you're in the misery, right? And so it's just hard to do. So I very much agree that getting the right support, being really attentive in regard, and use discretion. Like, who do you want to allow to influence how you think? Like, let's not just go to anybody. Like, really use discretion, choose somebody that's going to be great for you, and then be coachable. Stop trying to invent the wheel. Allow them to give you coaching, and then take the coaching. Like, why hire a coach and then don't take their coaching? It doesn't even really make sense, right? And so stay coachable. Is it uncomfortable sometimes? Yeah, but my gosh, it's your life. Your life is at stake if you stay where you are. So I just think that getting the right strategy in the right order and the right people around you, what it does in the long run is it saves you time, saves you money, and it saves you heartache, right? Because then you streamline yourself to your results. You don't waste years. You don't waste tens and tens of thousands of dollars trying to figure it out on your own. You don't waste, like, relationships don't have to break along the way. It's just like, I will never go without a mentor at this point. It changed my life. When I got one, however many moons ago, a long, long time ago. I started doing that work.
Yes, I totally agree what you said, that it feels sometimes challenging to ask for help, because being open and showing that you want some help and being vulnerable, but then noticing, like, when you're asking for help, like, how people love to help, because that just like brings joy and happiness to both, and then they can lift you up, and from that moment when you can't really see what's out there for you, and then just like being there for you. And for me, it's also the emotional support, like you said, like how you can just surround yourself with. So what would you say that the women who are ready to really choose differently, transform their life, whether it is the things in their personal life or in their business, to really go next level, where can they start?
Can I offer them the Overwhelm guide right now? Is this okay? So we
Yes,
have a
we
gift.
can talk about it. Yes, because we talked
Okay.
about Overwhelm, and you're kind enough to give us more support after this interview. So yes, please introduce the gift that you have for our friends.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it's hard to figure it out on your own. It doesn't mean that you're weak. Okay. This is what I would want our friends to know. And so we at my company, we kept hearing so many people, so many women talk about overwhelm and stress and anxiety. And they were worried. They were worried about their future. They were worried about their past still. And they weren't living here, right? They weren't in the present moment creating like beautiful memories with the people that they love, having fun and adventure, success, abundance. They weren't having that because they were just always in overwhelm. They were just always surviving versus thriving. And so we surveyed, we polled, we heard what people were saying was really impacting them and what felt like a challenge to them. And so we put together a guide called the Ultimate Guide to Overwhelm. And we have gotten raving reviews about this over the past, I'd say 6 months or so, maybe a little bit more. And just like thousands and thousands and thousands of women have downloaded this. And we hear such good feedback on this guide. It is not only super informative, but it's easy to implement. It makes sense and it's easy to implement to get a quick result, right? To start to deflate and decharge the overwhelm so that people can ground themselves again and not go down that dark rabbit hole and lose days or weeks or months. And so, we want to offer it to your community as a gift. And it's the ultimate guide to overwhelm is what it's called. And I know you're going to post the link, but it's at our website, onethoughtawayproject.com. It's there, and but I know you'll post the link as well.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing this. We'll definitely share the link and encourage everyone to go download that and also go back, listen this interview again, because there was so many nuggets. I'm gonna listen to this again, take notes, and pick those exercises that you shared with us and how we can start from them when we feel like those 60,000 negative thoughts are overwhelming us. So how we can start to untangle those. So Kerry, thank you so much for joining our Courage to Lead Unlocked show. And I hope you like a great day and connecting with you again. So thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me. Congratulations on the great work that you're doing here in the community that you built, and for all of our friends here. You found this talk for a reason. There are no mistakes. You manifested getting in front of this talk, and so the key is to now go do something with it. Don't let it just be a good talk in one ear out the other, and then you wonder why nothing changes. You get to get an inspired action. We all do. So thank you so much for having me, and congratulations on your show again.
Thank you. Like you said, how can we just like take these strategies and apply? Because that's when the magic and transformation happens, when we take action. Thank you, exactly. And see you in the next one.
Bye, everybody.